Hello, you're welcome to the Go Mad Football channel. And transfer deadline day is well and truly over. But in today's video, to this live stream, I'll be talking about a lot of transfer news, a lot of completed transfers, and what they mean for the various clubs. And so join me and let's have this discussion, have this talk. So first off, we start with Man City that spent 210 million pounds this January window, and obviously surpassing what was spent by other clubs. Was spent by other clubs. So for me, some people say, "Oh, Man City will spend so much money. Why do you have to spend that much money? If you want to win, you have to pay the big bucks." And the first of those, I'd say, is yeah, Nico Gonzalez. I think that's the last deal they made. That's the last deal that they made. So he's sort of going to be the Rodri sort of signing, you know, press resistant and all that good stuff. So he comes in to take that spot. And then as well, they'll also sign Marmoush. They've signed Kushinov. So they signed Victor Reis as well. So they've really spent, this generation for window. So what do you think about their spending, Man City fans? What do you think about their spending, rival fans of other clubs? So for me, I think they had to spend because the team was in dire straits. The form was very, very bad, very poor form. You had injury to Rodri, and you want to win, you want to compete, you've got to sign players. So they signed Nico Gonzalez, they signed Mamouche, and they signed Vitor Reyes, signed Kushinov. Like I said, but for me, I think this is a little too late for this season. In my opinion, I think it's a little too late for the season, and it's not enough for them to get back into the title race. I think top four, top three, they could even, take Arsenal out and finish in the top two. But winning the league this season, I think that's out of it. That's something that I don't think they can achieve. It's way too late. And then the next club I want to talk about is Chelsea. Chelsea, this window is the fifth window in the supposed four-window strategy, if you get what I mean. So they're way past, the sort of project. They're way past that project. So we're expecting to see a striker with the way Chelsea have struggled this season. Would have expected to see, at least one solid central midfielder. Expect to see one more centre back, experienced centre back. Given the struggles, but especially a striker. If Chelsea didn't do any business this window, but just signed a striker, it would have been seen as a good window. But however, it's turned out that it's ended up being a lot of outgoings, Disasi leaving, Joao Felix leaving, and you have Kani Chukwemeka leaving as well. You have, and then you just have Matis Amalgo coming. You have Esugo. Don't know how far that's going, but there are talks that Chelsea were close to completing the deal, but obviously he will be unable to be registered for Chelsea because he's played for two clubs already, Sporting Lisbon and Las Palmas. And the rule is you can be registered to more than two clubs in a season, but you can only play for two clubs in one season. So, well, Chelsea fans, what do you think about the transfer business, of your club, of our club? I'm a Chelsea fan. If you know, please like and subscribe to the channel. And in a bit, I'll talk about Joao Felix again. I have to talk about Joao Felix because I think he's someone that people have treated unfairly, in my opinion, in terms of how they've talked about him, in terms of how, they're trying to rate him. Some people are calling him a flop. Some some are calling him a flop. Some are saying he's not good enough. He's more of a journeyman than anything else. But for me, I think that's a little bit harsh. It's a bit too harsh, in my opinion. So what do you think about Joao Felix' move to AC Milan? For me, I think it is a good move for him. It's a good move for him, um, and I think what's his face, Enzo Maresca has to hold this one. He has to hold this L because I think the way he treated Joao Felix and Christopher Nkunku hasn't really been the best, in my opinion, because I think he's limited their minutes to 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, not really good enough. And he's decided that he's not going to bench Cole Palmer, whatever the reason. He's not going to change Cole Palmer with 30 minutes on the clock. It must be 5 minutes to go and all that ridiculous thing. Now, for me, Joao Felix has been decent when he had come on. For the time he's been on the pitch, I think he has been, he has been decent. He hasn't been all that bad. He has been decent, but he hasn't got that game time. And what fans like to do is, whether rival fans or fans of a particular club, what we like to do is we like this huge, high sounding takes. Oh, this guy is so bad. This guy is not good enough. He's super fantastic, with no context. Context is very important. Joao Felix wasn't given game time. It wasn't like he was given game time and he couldn't play and he couldn't deliver. And then you could say, okay, he's a flop. For me, a bit about Joao Felix. I wasn't the biggest fan of Joao Felix. I wasn't the biggest fan of his signing, but because at that moment I felt that Chelsea's main need was signing a striker. That was my opinion. That Chelsea's main need was actually signing a striker, as opposed to signing in another creative midfielder, another central midfielder, because for me, I felt that the one area that was very obvious, the obvious need was a striker. Struggled to score goals, created lots of chances under Pochettino, created lots of chances under Potter, and the main need was a striker. So I wasn't happy about that, but I appreciated his quality, and he showed it in moments where he was given the opportunity to play. And now, why I'm saying Enzo Maresca must hold this, I do not want to hear, oh, the squad is too small. If any injury, if Palmer is injured or there's a need to make a change, tactical switch in the game, I do not want to hear any complaint about, oh, the squad is too small, we let players go, because you wanted to let those players go. In my opinion, you did you had that trick up your sleeve. You know what coaches do when they want a player to be sold and they don't want to come out over and say, I don't like this player. In the press conferences, they'll always rate the player, always a decent player, he works hard in training. Oh, I can't forgive myself for not giving him minutes. Come match day, he doesn't play. Come match day, the player comes on for 2 minutes. Come match day, he plays for 2 seconds, because they know this would affect the player and the player will feel bad and want to leave, or it will affect the value of the player so much that the agent of the player would be looking for moves for the player out of the club. Or the club that pays the bills and the wages of the player would look and say, okay, this guy isn't giving us any return on our investment. We have to get him off the books. We have to find someone else to pay salary, and then that player will be gone. So that's one trick that managers like to do. One trick that managers, have up their sleeves. So Maresca has done that. He succeeded. Joao Felix has left the club. So no more excuses. And I think he will do well for AC Milan. No one should be shocked. No one should be shocked. No one should start saying, oh, where was this Joao Felix at Chelsea? He will do well in AC Milan, at AC Milan. And he will do, I think the Italian league will suit him as well, because he will be a bit more, have more time on the ball, more space on the ball. And he will be, very he'll be able to deliver and play well. That's not even saying that the Premier League was too fast for him. It's just that he didn't have the opportunity to play. He wasn't given the opportunity to play. And then another player that's interesting I want to talk about is Disasi. That's another Chelsea move to Aston Villa. That's something I want to talk about as well. Disasi moving to Aston Villa. For me, I think it's a bit of an odd one. It's a bit odd because Disasi isn't the fastest centre back, and that's one of the things I had against Disasi. He isn't one of the fastest centre backs, and what they call them, Aston Villa, they play with a high line. Aston Villa plays with a high line. So how do you then have Disasi as a player that you want to use. How do you want to use Disasi then? Because when you're playing with that high line, the balls go his head, you'll be unable, to chase any defender. He'll be unable to, you know, uh, uh, um, track back, get the defender, and make those tackles because he's slow. He is the kind of defender that would thrive, in um, a system you have where he plays deep and actually plays as a central center back and doesn't have to keep a high line. And that was one of the problems for him at Chelsea because Enzo Maresca, for one, wasn't really he would play him at centre back sometimes, but for the most part, he had him playing out wide with this new thing of a wide centre back, or you would have a right back, and he's too slow to be a right back. But for whatever reason, Enzo Maresca chose to play him there, and he really, really struggled. So for me, I think it's a good move for him going to Aston Villa. Chelsea wanted to shovel him off to Spurs, but he said no, Spurs wasn't for him. And fair dues, when you look at it from the perspective of the player, you would see that Spurs right now they're further down the table. That's for one. They're not competing for anything really this season. Maybe just have a top half, top half finish, not on the table, top half finish, and that'll be for them. And I don't think it was a good fit for him as well because if you're talking about Aston Villa playing a high line, you can imagine Spurs. Spurs, their high line is just ridiculous, ridiculous. That sort of high line would have exposed Disasi and his market value would have even, been worse. So I was wondering why would even the sporting directors of Chelsea want, to even sign want Disasi to go to Spurs because it's one thing when if you don't want a player, it's fine. Send him out on loan. He plays there, gets game time, and possibly, improves, and possibly improves there, puts himself in the shop window, and then you can sell the player off. But if you're sending Disasi to Spurs, and has shown that he's not flexible tactically, he will always play with his ridiculous high line, and Disasi in that high line would have been absolute comedy for rival fans and absolute disaster for Spurs fans because there's no way he would have been able to chase anyone back. And Van der Ven would have would have had more injuries even because he would have had to do double the job, double the tracking back. So for me, I think that's a good move for everyone. 6 million euros and loan fee, covering all his salary, and he'll be playing in the Champions League. So that's good for him in a way that he gets to play competitive football, and good for Chelsea because he puts himself in the shop window. But if he plays very well for Aston Villa could even decide to sign him, or another club could decide to sign him as well. So I think that's a very, very good move for him. And now, still talking about Chelsea players, we wanted to have an experienced centre midfielder. We wanted, a lot of the fan base were asking for Andre Santos to be recalled from Strasbourg, asking for Leslie Ugochukwu to be recalled from Southampton. But what did the sporting directors do? They say, no. We have something special for you. We have a wonderful player for you. Mm-hmm. We have the superstar Matis Amalgo. We have the superstar Matis Amalgo. This another wonder kid, if you can call him a wonder kid, or not even a wonder kid per se. Probably is someone you would say is another player with maybe high potential, but in this moment, wouldn't be able to deliver something to you this season. And it's a bit of a funny one because I would have expected that he would have gone on loan. I would expect that he would have gone on loan to Strasbourg while Andre Santos would have been recalled. But that was not the case. It's now the other way around where you're having him play at Chelsea for 3 months and then the 3 months or 6 months for the rest of the season and then join Strasbourg in the next window and maybe Andre Santos joins Chelsea. So where does where do we have which club ranks high in terms of priority for blue go and clear lake capital? So for me, um, good to have a body in the building because Lavia has just always been injured. So, what can you do about that? He's constantly injured, so you should have a body in the building. For me, Dario Esugo would have been a better choice. Or you get someone who can just be makeshift for you this season, and then you get in, Andrew Santos or Leslie Gochuku both back in next season. Leslie Gochuku coming in would have been good for for Chelsea, I think. But that's what they've opted for. They've opted for Amalgo. Let's see what happens. Let's see if he even gets game time. Maybe he'll play in the cup games. Um, but with the way as the Maresca been going, who knows? He may not even really get that much game time, and that will be yet another young player that's his had his development stunted. So for me, I just think this this is it. Well, it's a funny one for me because I think he has some talent, but it's not what Chelsea really, really, really need. So Chelsea fans, what do you feel about this move, this deal? You think he's that guy that can actually replace Lavia for the better part of the season? Because we know one issue with Lavia, rather the only issue with Lavia, which is the huge issue, is his lack of availability. Because no matter the skill you have, no matter how good you are on the ball, off the ball, no matter how you play, you have to be available for your skills, for your ability to be useful to your team. So, but do you think Matisse Algo is indeed the player that you want for Chelsea in this at this time? But so, what do you think? So, for me, I think that's it. Still sticking with Chelsea, we've got Kani Chukwuemeka. He's left. He's left Chelsea, and now he's gone to Dortmund. So for me, I think there again is something where I think for the on the player side, I think it is good for him because he goes over to Dortmund and he will get game time for sure. He's going to get game time for sure because Dortmund, they don't muck about with their money. You know, he will get game time for sure. But the problem is for a club like Chelsea, if you're having him go out on loan, that means, and then you're allowing Joao Felix as well go out on loan. What that then means for you is that you just have Cole Palmer. You only be relying on Cole Palmer. That's what that means. You only be relying on Cole Palmer, and that'll put you in the spot of bother. If anything should happen to Palmer, that's on the one hand. Hopefully, nothing happens to him. And then on the other hand, if Cole Palmer is injured, if Cole Palmer, maybe struggling in the game, and the coach wants to make some tactical, changes, he'll be unable to do anything because you've let Joao Felix go, um, you've let Cole Palmer, you've let Joao Felix go, you've let Kanu Chukwuemeka go, and the only other person you have there is Christopher Nkunku. Well, let's see how Nkunku will be utilized. Yesterday, he got some game time. From game time, came off the bench, to play, to play for Chelsea in the game versus West Ham. So all let's say it goes good deal for him, and there's even a buyout clause. No, not a buyout clause. There's the option to buy. But what's strange about the option to buy is that the fee contained in that option to buy is more than the buyout clause of Kanu Chukwuemeka's contract. So I think in a way that could really discourage Bournemouth or put Dortmund off from signing, Chukwuemeka on a permanent. So for me, I think maybe in the end he could still come back to Chelsea at the end of the transfer, at the end of the transfer window. So that's it on that. And then now we've got this guy. He used to play for Newcastle, shimmies and dribbles, but end of the day, he went to Saudi Pro League from Newcastle now, and he's heading to Fenerbahce. So Saint Maximan, he's headed over to Fenerbahce, hopefully that would be a good move for him. I wonder how he would cope with, you know, Jose Mourinho. So that's 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 a big. Let's say a big problem. But it'll be interesting to see because I don't think he really is someone that puts in that defensive shift. But let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes with with, with Jose Mourinho. So, and then other clubs that have made moves this transfer window. Um, Bournemouth have gone and signed, the French wonder kid, Ellie Junior Kropi. I think he was someone that Chelsea were linked with at some point in the season. In the Once it was getting close to the January transfer window, says a wonder kid is the new Mbappe. We're all hearing that, all hearing all that about new Mbappe, but can it actually to live up to the rating? It's one thing to say a player is a wonder kid. It's one thing for that player to actually go on to deliver. Um, but I think how Bournemouth has approached this is really good because they didn't just sign him and keep him at the club and then struggle for minutes. They've allowed him to go back to, they've allowed him to go back to remain rather at, Montpellier on loan. So for me, I think that's good, but it'll be interesting to see what he does, in the Premier League next summer. But this does feel like something that Chelsea would be involved in at some point, So I think it's good for the player. Bournemouth signed him, and he will be, joining them in the summer. So I think it's a good deal for him in a way. But then again, you look at it, ask yourself, at 18, is he really going to play? Is he really going to play for Bournemouth come next season, or one of those things where he will loaned around a bit and then given the opportunity to play? But given that Solanke has left the club, obviously now with Spurs, you know, um, that's something that should be that's something that I think has left a gaping hole for strikers. Has left a gaping hole for strikers because I don't think we've really had any real striker. Evan Nielsen was signed, but I don't think he's really impressed in my opinion. He hasn't really impressed. He have Clivett scoring goals for them, most of them penalties. So I think they're really looking for a striker. So maybe from next season, Ellie Junior Krupi. He's a French. He has French and junior international at the minute, but I think his parents are Cameroonian as well, so he has both French and Cameroonian heritage, which means he could either choose to represent Cameroon at some point in time. But with Mbappe, if we look at Mbappe too has French and Cameroonian nationalities, but he's choosing to play for France, and the way things are going, who knows? He might just decide to play for France when the time comes. But overall, talking about the sign, I think it is a good one in my opinion for Bournemouth, and let's see what he does come come the summer of 2025. Let's see how that goes. So tell me in the chat. So someone's dropped the chat in there. It's strong CV experience like Thiago Silva. Yeah, that's true. Chelsea needed a striker. I mean, a striker and a centre back as well with experience. So that's why for me, I think Tosin should be a starter. He should be starting alongside either Chalobah or Levi Colwell. He should be the main guy that starts, in my opinion. So that's what I'm thinking in that regard. So just for a minute. So for your various clubs, Arsenal didn't really do that much in the transfer window. Didn't get any striker. I was thinking that Arsenal would have got a striker, but they didn't get any striker, and that's where they're all celebrating the one against Man City 5-1, but is that sufficient? Is that enough? To get them over the line, in my opinion. And then talking about Spurs now, Spurs have gone on to sign, Matistel. Matistel, that was a strange one because I think he was someone that, a lot of people were looking at him. He was seen as a wonder kid at Bayern Munich, and then come this January, a lot of clubs, including Chelsea, were looking to sign him. A lot of clubs were looking to sign him either on loan or permanent deals. It looked like at one point Chelsea were interested. You know, that didn't work. That didn't work. And then at some point, it also looked like he was going to head to Manchester United. That didn't work. And then now he's gone to Spurs, and Spurs have, they have a clause to sign him on a permanent. I wonder what the terms of that, of that sort of loan agreement, or what would trigger that option to buy Matistel. Because I don't think Spurs will be good enough to finish in European spots this season. I don't think they will be good enough. But maybe that's just the Chelsea fan in me, you know, going against Spurs. So who knows? But I don't think they would be good enough, to finish in the European spots this season. But let's see how that goes. So speaking of Matistel, hope he gets the opportunity to play, because of course Timo Werner hasn't really done anything significant this season. I think even last season when he joined Spurs, he wasn't fantastic, and this season he hasn't been that great, in my opinion, as well. And Solanke has been fairly decent, in my opinion, for Spurs, but Matistel probably becomes a different profile of striker for them, or maybe he plays out wide. So maybe it could be a front three of Solanke, Son, and Matistel. Maybe that would be the starting. What I say, starting, that would be the attacking front three, in my opinion. Maybe So, for Manchester United fans, how you feeling about Matistel? Do you feel like you've missed out on a target, on a transfer target? Do you think it would have made a difference to you? From speaking from a Chelsea fan perspective, for me, I saw him as a fairly decent talent, but I still saw him in as a similar profile to Noni Madueke, for instance, or Jadon Sancho. He's got more pace. So for me, more like Noni Madueke, Pedro Neto, a player with tons of pace, a winger that can, kind of score goals, but not really a striker. And then you would have had a problem of you play him as a striker, that would you still have the same struggles you're having with Nicholas Jackson at the minute, where each time you see him in front of goal, he doesn't quite finish his chances off the way you expect the striker to finish. And that was one of the main problems I had with Chelsea signing Matistel, because for me, I think the profile that Chelsea needs at the minute was an actual out and out striker that knows their way about the penalty box, that knows how to be clinical 1v1. And I see Matistel as a volume striker as well. He needs to have 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 chances before converting. I think that's where I see him. I don't think he's as clinical as a Harry Kane or Victor Osimhen, for instance, or Gyökeres. And that's the type of profile of strikers that I think a team that wants to finish in the top 4 needs, a team that wants to compete for a title needs. And Matistel fed used to him. I think he has enormous upside. And maybe if he's given game time at Spurs, he can turn out to be something special for them. But for me, it wasn't a deal that I would have really been crazy about if Chelsea had done it. So let's see how it goes. He might make me eat my words as the season starts. And as the season starts for him, he comes in this January, season starts for him, he could score tons of goals for Spurs and push them into Europa League or Conference League spots. Who knows? But overall, not a deal I'm really crazy about. But I would raise my hand up to say, oh, I'm wrong. He's made me eat humble pies, and he's played very well. But for now, the deal, not really rating the deal so much, in my opinion. And then I want to talk about, a deal for Southampton, transfer that was completed, an exciting talent from Royal Antwerp. Let's see how that turns out. And I think is Victor Udo, that's the name of the player, was signed for Royal Antwerp. I think Royal Antwerp, that's the same club that Monaco signed Jordan Kenna from. So Victor Udo, let's see what happens, I hope he's giving game time because I think he's someone that can be a difference maker, you know, um for Southampton, in my opinion. So I think it's on the official Twitter handle. So I'll just share this in a minute. So I think he's very very quick. He's fast, and I think that can be helpful for Southampton. You know, so let's see what happens. You know, if he indeed gets to play, because I think he can be an additional threat to Sulemana. So Sulemana can be on one flank, giving pace. He can be on the other flank, giving pace, and then Onachu goes is a striker through the middle. Because for me, one thing the way I look at football is you must have balance. I've never liked the idea of having a pacey player on one side and then having a slow player on the other side, taking away balance from the team. So I think he brings balance to that Southampton side, though he's a young player. Um, let's see, let's see what happens. But I think it will be interesting to see what he and Kamaldin would do. You know, for Kamaldin Sulemana, what him and Kamaldin Sulemana would do for Southampton, especially then you have an Onwachu up top for them to feed and just play like orthodox wingers, or you can also support on Wachu as well. I think that would be very interesting to see from a Southampton perspective. I know in my Nigerian ways, I want him to do well as he's come to the Premiership. Hope he gets game time. But overall, I think that's a good and very interesting signing for for Southampton. So Southampton fans, what do you think about this move? And then for other teams in that relegation sort of battle, do you feel threatened by this? And then also want to talk about Royal Antwerp. I think as a club, they provide that a good platform for young players with exciting talent to build up their careers off. So I think that's an excellent move for him. So um, kudos to the scouting team of Southampton for going for this player. Hopefully, he thrives and he shines for them. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on this guy and other things we've talked about? Like we've talked about, Joao Felix going to AC Milan. Chelsea fans, what do you think about it? Are you happy about it? Are you upset about it? Or are you indifferent? Like for me, I've said it was someone that I wasn't very keen on Chelsea signing, not because he was a bad player, but because it wasn't the profile of player that Chelsea needed at that time. But my mindset, I was like Chelsea actually needed a striker, and Chelsea signed him instead of him leaving now. I see is something that has reduced the quality in the Chelsea squad, if I'm honest, because you just have Palmer and Nkunku in those 10 positions. So he's going. What are your thoughts on that? And then Spurs fans, what do you think about Matis Tell? What do you think about his signing? Do you think he is the guy to, take you over the line, to push you upwards, to push you up the table? For me, I don't see him as that out and out striker that can say, I know this is the middle point of the season that can give you maybe 10, 15 goals for the rest of the season, or let's say 10, 12 goals. I don't think he can do that because, like I said, he is more of this high volume forwards, in my opinion. That needs tons and tons of chances before getting the goal. So for me, Chelsea missed out on him, but I'm happy that it didn't happen because um, I think Chelsea actually needed a striker that was an out and out striker, in my opinion. So I wonder what your thoughts are on that, Chelsea fans and fans out there as well. Talking about the transfer dealings of your club. Are you happy with the transfer that you're happy with the transfer and business your club have done this season, or um, you're still kind of worried about it going into the season? You know, are you still kind of worried about it going into the season? So, yeah, and this is an interesting news. Now, William been re-signed by Fulham. I don't. For me, that's not an inspiring signing. I don't know what Fulham fans think about it, but for me, I don't see that as a really, really inspiring signing, in my opinion. because I think at this point in his career he should just retire. I know he was fairly decent at Fulham, didn't look to have lost any pace whatsoever. So for me, I think that would have just been good for him to just have retired that way and just let people remember him for how good he was. Um, because I don't think he is. I don't think it is really good for someone who's meant to have retired to go back to the same place, especially when you're at that point, you're at that stage, in your career. So, but let's see how it happens. Let's see how it shakes down. Indeed, if it actually, if it actually works for him. Let's see how it goes. Fulham fans, how you feeling about it? Are you feeling happy about it? Are you feeling excited? Do you think that probably he can reignite, his form? He can sort of get back to, be the sort of player he was for your team. What do you think about this signing? For me, I think um, while it's a decent signing, in my opinion, is decent, but I don't think it's the kind of sign that should really excite anyone. I think at this point, William should be retired at this minute. That's my opinion with respect to this William transfer. So, what do you all think about this? Do you think William really, is will be a different maker for Fulham? For me, I don't quite think so. I don't quite think so, in my humble opinion. So, but Fulham fans, you're the one that this concerns. What do you think about William joining your club? So, so that's my opinion on that one. And now Manchester United in the transfer window. They've not really been that busy, in my opinion. I don't think they've been really that busy. They've not done that much business. You know, um, this window, they've not done that much business. So, Manchester United fans, how do you feel about the transfer business you've done this season? What do you think about the transfer business you've done this season? So for me, talking about out is more out than in for Manchester United. Marcus Rashford joining Aston Villa. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Marcus Rashford leaving Aston Villa? I think, for me, I think Rashford could do well for Aston Villa because I think it's one of those things where you go to a club with lower expectations. You go to a club with lower expectation, and then you start playing better. You still get more chances. You have that monkey off your back. You have that pressure off your back. So in general, what do you think about that move? I think it could end up being a very good move for Marcus Rashford, and it could be, one of those ones where Manchester United fans, you know, begin to cry a lot once they see that Marcus Rashford, begins to perform for, Aston Villa. So, what are your thoughts and opinion with respect to this? From I'll go back to the point I was making. I say this can be something that can work for for Aston Villa because I think he's someone that will play with. He's got the pace, obviously, and with the way Unai Emery sets up his team, I think that's something that can actually work. For Marcus Rashford, that could actually work for him, and then you can send Manchester United fans up in arms if he does do well. I think Aston Villa, they've done some interesting pieces of business this window. We've talked about the Sassi, and then we've not talked about Asensio, that signed from Aston Villa, signed from PSG. So they've got more bodies in the building. They've got Asensio, they've got Rashford, they wanted Joao Felix, but that didn't work. He's off to AC Milan. So let's see how that pans out. For me, I think Rashford could work. Once again, despite the form of Manchester United, I think you still have more pressure playing for Manchester United than you have playing for Aston Villa. So going to Aston Villa, I think you have that burden off his back. You can play with more freedom, because someone that's come through the Manchester United Academy, people have seen him as the chosen one, the kid that's going to save us, the kid that's going to kill the dragon, so to speak. So with all that pressure, not every player, not every athlete, not every person can cope, with such level of pressure on their backs. So for me, I think it's a good move for him. And then Manchester United fans, are you happy with the move? Would you have wanted, Marcus Rashford to remain at the club until at least till the end of the season, and then you can sell him off, permanently to another club, or maybe just get to see how he plays. But with the way Amorim had been going on about it, he just felt like it was best he left. So speaking about Amorim, what are your thoughts on Amorim and the way he handled Rashford? Do you think it was too harsh on Rashford? Do you think, it would have been best for him to sort of mend defenses with Rashford? You know, uh, 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 so what do you think? What do you think in general about Rashford? About Rashford and Amorim? For me, I feel like Amorim. I like that a manager wants to stand up and be strong. I like that a manager, wants to lay down the law, lay down the order, the way things have to be done. But I think the way he's gone about this season has been a bit strange for me because people have said, get your style of play instilled in the players. But then again, the same people will tell you that most of those players will be sold. So the players you're going to instill your style of play in, come next season, they'll be gone. So what would you be trying to achieve there? For me, I just felt like we would have used the players, use them to the best of their abilities, and then come next, put them in the shop window for the club. So clubs will come around, look at this, oh, play for Manchester United, very good players, and then you can sell them off at likely higher price or something like that. But on the flip side of things, as a coach, you want to lay down the law. You want everyone to be moving in the same direction, marching in the same direction. But so for some reason, it seemed that hasn't worked. So fair dues, everybody have gone, they've parted ways, so to speak. And I think this is the end of Rashford and Manchester United. In my opinion, I think that's it. It's over. And then talking about, Manchester United, there was one significant incoming for Manchester United, and that's Patrick Dogu. For me, I'm a bit disappointed about this one on two perspectives actually. On two perspectives actually, because on the first one, Chelsea were linked to him when clearly Capital, first took over Chelsea. I think he was meant to be like the second set of players that Chelsea, would have signed, but for whatever reason, they didn't quite follow up with that interest. They didn't quite follow up with that interest. So for me, I'm a bit disappointed in that regard. And then the other, and I'm disappointed in with respect to the fact that he could have played for Nigeria, but I think at this point he's cap tied or whatever tied. He's now playing for Denmark. But that's a different discussion for another day. So Patrick Dogu signing for Manchester United, I think that's a good thing for Manchester United. But as with every other set of football fans, we're now having the overhyping. He can play at left wing back, he can play right wing back, he can play left wing, he can play right wing. No, stop the madness. He is a very good, left wing back with a very high ceiling. So there's no point in trying to make him play multiple positions. If Amorim does that, then it's going to be a problem for him. Because what I've seen a lot of modern coaches do is they see a player and see some top qualities that player has that puts that player, in that, how to put it, that makes that player special in that role. And then rather than play that player in that role and allow the player to be special, and I say, oh, because of this one quality you have, you can play in a different position. And that's what we've seen happen with a couple of players. We've seen Kai Havertz. That's why Arsenal they're struggling with Kai Havertz. They see Kai Havertz. He can score goals every now and again, but they say, oh, that means we have to play as a striker. We don't need to sign any striker. And that's the problem. He will struggle. That's how Kante was almost ruined by Frank Lampard, in my opinion. You know, we knew that N'Golo Kante was very mobile, very mobile. Or he can go box to box, but primarily he's a six. He was a six then, it's a six now. And then Lampard came, oh no, he's not just a six, he has to go box to box. And that's where the problem now lied for Kante under Lampard. So, and if you remember, Kante started becoming injured. He started having recurring injuries. So for me, no, no. I think Patrick Dogu, if you play him as a left wing back in this three at the back system, I think he'll do very, very well for for Manchester United. So Manchester United fans, what are your thoughts and opinions on Patrick Dogu? Is he a signing that you like? Is he a signing that you don't like? After seeing this type of videos that I hate, where people just go on and make a 2 second, 3 seconds, compilation of a player's mistakes or errors and say, "Oh, you see, this player is not good. Why are we signing him?" Another player that can defend. I'm like, "What are you doing? This is a player that has been signed to your own club. This is a player that has been signed to your club. So what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then still on talking about transfers, there's players that have been signed to the championship and Southampton especially, and he is Christian Wachuku. Yeah, Christian Wachuku. I think he's an exciting player. Was signed from Bulgarian side, Plodiv, Botev Plodiv, from Bulgaria, and let's see how he does. He's a quick player. I think could be an exciting player in the championship if Southampton indeed remains and progresses through the table in the championship. I think he's a player that can really do well for you know for uh, uh, um for Sheffield United. You know, I think he can do well. He can do well for them, and I think that's a good signing for both because that I wouldn't say the championship uh, uh, um, isn't a bad league. It's a very tough league to play in. It's sort of baptism by fire as well. I think you know for him coming to English football, but I think sometimes some players come to the Premier League a bit too early without actually having a good understanding, a good feel for what English football is all about. So I think that would be good for him, coming in there, and I hope he really does perform well once again. My Nigerian ways, getting the best out of me. I hope he does well. I hope he really does well. Uh, because the difference between the Bulgarian league and English football championship is night and day. Difference in competition is night and day. So Christian Wachuku, you see, is there on the official X account of Sheffield United. So I think that's a good move for them, good move for both him and the player. So that's excellent move for him. Let's see, how that shakes out. So Sheffield United fans, is this something you're happy with? Is this a deal you're happy with? Do you think this can help you, in your season? So for me, overall, overall is good. Let's see what he does from a Nigerian perspective. We're all supporting and rooting for him. Hope he does well, and hope he can make that move. Can establish himself in English football. Let's see how that goes. Now, speaking still about Manchester United, Malasia was a player I used to rate before he went to Manchester United, but that hasn't worked. Things haven't worked out for him, and now he is leaving Manchester United. Rather has left Manchester United. So for me, when you ask me how to rate his time there, I think injuries and the whole mess at Manchester United didn't do him any favors. Injuries and the way the club is set up, the way the Glazers run the club. So despite from a Chelsea perspective, I know everyone likes to criticize the Blue Co, clearly how they run the club, but for me, I think they are far better than the Glazers. And even talking about Ineos, I don't think Ineos have really done much better. They're busy sacking tea ladies, sacking janitors, and saying that's the way they want to save money. That's how they want to save money. That's how they want to cut costs. You sack janitors, you sack uh, uh, um, cleaners, you sack admin staff, and say, "Oh, you know what? This is the way we want to save money," as opposed to selling off players that have been struggling for your club. And speaking about that, Malasia, he's left. He has joined PSV, and I think, and that could be a good deal for him, a good move for him, going back to, a club where, no, a club going back to a league where you're more, you're used to, possibly your family members, your friends, you get to be united with them. That gives you some time to build yourself back up, from an emotional and psychological standpoint, and then that can improve your play on the pitch. So I think overall, it's a good move. It's a good move for him. So let's see how that goes. Let's see how that shakes out. If he is able to, you know, play well for them, and then maybe get a move, get a move to a different club if he plays well, or maybe Manchester United can recall him, after he goes there and plays well and performs, and then maybe you could have Malasia, and Patrick Dogu compete for that left wing back slots or position. So for me, that's my opinion on that as well. And then still sticking with Manchester United, you've had Anthony leave and join Real Betis. And his first game, what happens? He ends up being the man of the match. So is there something wrong with Manchester United? Is there something evil in the water in Manchester United that when people drink it, they start playing like they have, their head up, what? So let's see how he continues to develop and play at Real and not at Real Betis. So on all the transfer window has been interesting, has been from a just perspective has been really quiet. We expected to get more players, maybe not 4 or 5, but at least 2 or 3, one striker, one centre back, one midfielder. Just ended up with um, Matis Asugo, who is not even a super experienced midfielder. And so for me, I think with the way Enzo Maresca has handled this team, I think he will be very, very reluctant to actually, play um, Matisse. I think that's easier to play Matisse, to give Matisse regular game time, in my opinion. I think he will be very skeptical about playing Matisse regularly, even in cup games, in my opinion. I think possibly he would go with Lavia, Enzo, and then maybe go with Raksai from the academy, or Keanu Dyer. So I think probably that what is going to happen. But and then speaking still on Chelsea, according to Fabrizio, Anselmino will still remain at the club. Joao Felix was sent on loan, and supposedly, you know, Anselmino was to head out on loan to Marseille, but that didn't happen, and he's set to remain, at Chelsea. So let's see how that pans out. I think he is a decent defender, but yet again, he is another young player, tons of experience, tons of upside, but there's a huge question mark on what he can do now, how he can help the club now. Now, for me, when you're talking about maybe wonder kids and all that, how I define wonder kids is not what you do at an academy level. It's not what you do at the under 20 levels. For me, it's what you do when you step up, when you're at that level where you're playing against grown men. That's how I judge you as a wonder kid or not. Because if you're just a decent player, a decent young kid, playing at the academy, developing at the normal pace for kids your age, then you're not really a wonder kid. You're a very good young player that can grow to have a very good career, but you can't be called a wonder kid. So Anselmino has been called a wonder kid, center one of the best center back talents ever, generational talent, XYZ. Now you have heading to Chelsea. I hope there's a plan for him coming to Chelsea and hope he can, get some game time. And now it's just a bit confusing because you've got Shaloba in the building already, and then you've got of course there's Tosin, there's Colwill. Whether Fofana is injured, so before he comes back, maybe he doesn't come back fully fit and ready to go for the season, for the remainder of the season. But you still have got Tosin, who I think should be starting anyways. You've got Levi Colwell, you've got Shaloba, and then you've got Anselmino. So, and then you also got Josh Achepong. Don't forget that as well. You've got Josh Achepong. So, and Josh Achepong, with the way Enzo Maresca plays, sometimes with the way he plays, sometimes he plays Josh Achepong as a centre back. And it's one of those coaches that, come up with this crazy saying, in my opinion. I think it's crazy. Oh, football, you don't have to talk about positions, any play, you should be able to play multiple positions. And for me, I disagree, with that sort of sentiment that any player can play any position. So you can't have, right back playing a centre back. You can fulfill a role for a particular game, or as the game progresses, maybe someone is injured for a tactical switch. You can fulfill certain roles, but switching roles completely and having a right back playing a centre back, for me, I don't think that would really work, in my opinion. So let's see what the plan is for Anselmino. Let's see if indeed that would work, and let's see how that shakes down. And then we've got some talk about the Chelsea board where they're going on about they're planning to get a striker for the summer window. And for me, I think that's just PR this minute. It's just PR, because fans are disappointed. I'm sure they know that Enzo Maresca himself is disappointed with the fact that he haven't went out and signed the striker, in my opinion. So I think they know he's disappointed. So they've come up with this PR nonsense, in my opinion, saying, "Oh, we're looking to get a striker for the summer, working on it." Because I assure you, come the summer, you wouldn't see any quick deal. Because the way you would be able to prove that you've been in discussions with strikers, you've been working on getting strikers in for the summer, the main evidence would be come June, the end of 31st of June, or come July, a deal is announced for a striker. Because you're saying you have been working on getting a striker, and that means you have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, 7 months, or let's say with January gone, you would have 6 months where you're working on getting the striker. You're in touch with his agent, you're in touch with the club. Let's say you're in touch with Napoli, for instance. If you're talking about Victor Osimhen, for instance, you're getting the player in, and then you can sign the striker. But if come June, come July, you've not signed any striker, then there's a problem. And now switching the transfer talk to a player that I wasn't expecting. I didn't know much about his move. His move came as, I would say, a healthy surprise for me. It came as a healthy surprise for me because I wasn't expecting any move, to take place with respect to him. But as the move happened, I was happy because for me, as once again, one Inter my senior Nigerian player making a move, I'm happy with it. It's something that gets me excited, especially when you see a young talent moving to join a club like Benfica that you think will possibly, get more game time. And if you want to know more about the player and more about, this transfer, I talk more about it, during in a video that is already on the channel. You could go check out the video right after this one. Whilst you're here, please do subscribe to the channel, share this video, share this live to to share this live to people that might be interested. So, Kelvin, I want to ask, are you ready to come on? Should I share the link with you, and then we could have a discussion on some of these um news items? If you're ready to come on, I'll just drop the link in the chat, and let's go with that. If you're ready, you can click the link and we could have that discussion. So for me, Peter, signing day Dokpolo, or signing day Peter, whatever you want to put it. For me, I think that's a good move for him and to Benfica, and I hope he really, really gets to play. In my opinion, I hope he gets to play because I think he will be a very good striker for Benfica. Hopefully, he gets game time there. And so, happy with the move. Once again, what's your club? Are you happy with the move of your club? The transfer business they've done, or not so much? For me, I'll say from a Chelsea perspective, I'm not happy at all with the move they've made. Just signing a 19-year-old untested, midfielder isn't what I'm looking forward to. Doesn't fulfill any need, at least not any pressing one. Even if you want to provide cover for Lavia, there was Alex Matos, who I think is more physically, in terms of his body, he's more physically developed than Matisse. He's more physically developed than Matisse. So I think he would have been, a better choice to come in that midfield. You had Les Lugo out on loan at Southampton. I know Southampton fans may not be happy to hear this, but I think he would have been someone that could have recalled, from his loan spell with Southampton, and then you use him, and he would have been able to provide that cover for you. Right now he's got some experience in Premier League. He has more playtime, more playing experience than Matisse, although he's just a couple of years older than Matisse, but he has more experience. He's more physically built, 6'3", 6'4". I think he would have been a better choice in that midfield than to go for a Matisse as well. And like I said, it is for me. I would have preferred Matisse go over to Strasbourg, and then you have Andre Santos recalled to the team, but unfortunately that wasn't done. So Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, Manchester United fans, Liverpool fans, you happy with the business that your clubs have done this season? Spurs fans, you happy with Matisse Tell, that sort of signing that you were looking forward to once the January transfer window opened? Was that what you were looking for? So Bournemouth fans, you happy with Early Junior Kropi, a youngster, a young player. I think it could be difficult for him. I know he says a wonder kid, has scored a lot of goals. Let's see if he can live up to the new Mbappe sort of hype, because Mbappe, I know people like to make fun of Mbappe, but people don't get how good Mbappe is still a fantastic world-class player now, but people don't get how good he was as a young player, 18-year-old, carrying Monaco on his back to, the Champions League is the semi-final. Don't know how difficult it is, and then a couple of years later, leading France, to World Cup and winning the World Cup. Super talent. So you say Early Junior Kropi is a wonder kid, is a new Mbappe. Let's see how that shakes out. Let's see, what that would mean, for Bournemouth come next season. And then speaking about Strasbourg and the Chelsea connection, Strasbourg, they've signed two players. There's Valentin Bako that has joined Strasbourg. He joined Strasbourg from Brighton, and that's a player that Chelsea have been linked to. They were even linked to him prior to his joining. Brighton. So for me, that's an interesting one. Is it a way that Chelsea have tried to say, okay, this is how we're going to bring this player in. We'll let Strasbourg sign him, and then we can get him on a loan, or is this really all about Strasbourg? Because I think um, Diego Moreira has been doing well for Strasbourg. I think he has been doing really well for Strasbourg, in my opinion. He's done very well and he's really adapted to his new role. He used to be an attacking player, but is now turned into um, he's now been converted by Liam Rosinio, their coach. He's now been converted to uh, um, a fullback. So and he's been playing as a fullback very well. So what? So I think bringing Valentin Barco would be a bit of a challenge for him. Would he be able to take that spot away from? Would he be able to take that spot away from what's his face from Diego Moreira? Because I think Diego Moreira has been very good in my opinion in that new role. So let's see how that shakes down. But Chelsea fans, don't be surprised if he ends up at Chelsea at some point. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if he ends up at Chelsea. So once again, I'm asking out there, if you want to join discussion, the link is there. Click on the link, and then you can join in this discussion. So Valentin Barco, let's have a look. Let's have a look at him. So he joined Strasbourg. He joined Strasbourg from Brighton, and hopefully he comes good there. But once again, I've said Diego Moreira has really adapted to that left back role, and now, but it's always good to have competition. It's always good to have more than one player per position. So let's see, how that. Let's see how that happens. Let's see how that shakes down. What it turns out to be in the end. So overall, transfer window has come, is gone, it's ended, and now we, moving on to the season. What do you think is going to happen for your various clubs? Like I said, you happy with what's happened? Let's know in the comment section. And then just to inform everyone, there'll be a new program coming up on the channel that's straight up Premier League, two programs, in fact, straight on Premier League and straight up football. We'll have panelists coming on to discuss different issues around football, around the Premier League, reacting to Premier League matches. So if you want to be part of that panel, let me know so I can send you the link like this, like I've sent here. You click on it and make sure if you'll be joining, make sure you give permission, because once you click on this, permission will be requested of you to, share to allow access to your camera and to your microphone. Don't be afraid. That access is just to allow you, when you come on, to be seen and to be heard. So I want to thank everyone who's watched this channel, who's subscribed to the channel, who shares the channel. The real MVPs want to say big thank you to you. And I want to really thank you. So, but at this point, I've come to the end of this video, the end of this stream. So I'd like to say, do have a splendid rest of your evening. Get some good rest, get a good dinner, and stay well.